And I was like, okay, like, call me after church. Hey y'all, welcome back to GoziTV. So one of my subscribers said, please, we want to see more story times and we love you so much. And I was like, okay, baby girl, say less. Okay, she didn't say that verbatim, but like, she's like, oh, hey, more story times. And so I love to tell stories. And the craziest thing about my stories is they're true. They're true. So I don't know what y'all were doing during the pandemic, but I was having several mental breakdowns. My mental breakdowns were having babies, getting jobs, and their babies were having mental breakdowns. Like I was going through it, but also I was having a lot of mental breakthroughs. Like I know that an old world not just died for the whole world, but an old world died for me as far as mindset and like everything. Anyway, but during the pandemic, can I say pandemic? I don't know the YouTube guidelines anymore. Can I say? Anyway, during the of 2020, I found myself going back to church because well, I mean, I was already like going to like a really cool church, and then the pandemic came, so then like no church, like online church, just stay in your house and do church at home, live stream church. But then I found this church that was still going on during the pandemic, and it was happening like outside. Everything was moving outside, but my original church I don't think was like going outside. I don't know. So I found a new church that was doing outside, and I was like, okay, we outside. So all we could do was go to church outside. So I went to church outside. And let's just be clear, like I went to church growing up, but I didn't like grow up in the church. You know, there's like a difference. Like I would go like when we felt like it, right? So I don't know every Bible scripture. I don't know anything. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. It's not nothing that I don't know, but like I can't recite you the Bible back and forth. Like it just will never happen. Ever. So anyway, I started going to this church, nice church, diverse church. It reminded me of a lot of the churches that I went to growing up in the South, right? Like Texas, Louisiana, like they just reminded me of these churches. And so I would go, and every week I would go. I was so happy and just being like, wow, church, I'm in the house of the Lord. Well, not in the house, I'm outside because of pandemic. Anyway, so I was happy to go there. Then I caught the eye of this man. I'm not going to say he caught my eye. I caught his eye big time. So naturally, it was inevitable. He couldn't stop, whatever he was feeling inside his spirit, whatever God was telling him about me. He was like, this one, oh, we're going to see about this. So we did get each other's number because he wanted to pray for me during such a hard time, the pandemic. And I was like, you know what? Sure. Because whatever community I did have, they left and went back to Texas. That's a whole different story. But anyway, we got each other's numbers. I went to church. And the craziest part is I wasn't planning to just like go to this church. I've never been the type to like look for guys at church because like I said, I went to church. I didn't like grow up in the church. There's a difference. So when I met him, I was like, okay, like this is cool. And of course I still kept going to church. And then after every service, he would text me later in like after church and talk like he would call, first of all, he would call me and tell me, talk to me about the service. And then he would text me some Bible verses that pertain to the service of the day and our conversation all wrapped up in one text message for me to study. I don't know what kind of whirlwind or like what. I was just like, okay, like literally, I just needed to start going to church and like being in the praising environment during this crazy time in life. I was not looking for this, right? And so because I'm like, God, is this my husband? And it's just like, also, is it like God that's gonna tell me? Or anyway, I don't even want to go down the rabbit hole, but I was like, okay, just being the confused heathen that I am. I'm just like, well, this guy wants to pray over me. Sure. Okay. This is nice. For like 3 consecutive Sundays, it was like that. And then there was this one Sunday, he was like, "Hey, nice to see you." I was like, "Nice to see you too." Oh, I never gave him a name. Corinthian. We'll just call him Corinthian. And was like, nice to see you. And I was like, nice to see you too. And he was like, let's talk after church. And I was like, whoa, whoa. And I was like, okay, like, call me after church. And then he did. I already knew. I already knew that he was on to me. What do you mean by that? Well, around this, around, listen to me. Don't judge me. You don't know what I'm about to say. You don't know me, man. Okay, so around this time, I was like, OnlyFans, right? But like the thing about, well, can I even say that? Because when I posted this in like 2020, my video kind of got like flagged on something because I guess you couldn't use that word, OF. Anyway, whatever. So I saw that OF was taking off, and I was just like, just another something that I am not gonna do that is taking off. And the girlies, the folks are making money with it. Well, kudos to them. Like there are some careers that are just not for me, but creativity is always for me. So at this particular time, I was just like, I do want to join the OnlyFans chat, but not in that way. Not in that way. I wanted to flex my creativity and get a bag off of it. And so I did produce. So, first of all, the highest views on this channel, GoziTV, are parodies. And I pride myself on my parodies. So then I was like, what if I took parodies to a place that's already crazy and controversial? Like parodies are controversial and this website is controversial. So I started making like parodies using like dolls. Use your imagination. And I just thought it was so cool. I even went on a podcast tour where I would um talk about what I created during the pandemic and OnlyFans in the website. So I didn't show my body or anything, but I just used it as a way to flex my creativity. And yeah. So I was very proud of it. It's not something I'm ashamed of. Like people were just like, and God said you crazy. And it's like, yeah, but people paid for that nonsense. And I didn't have to degrade myself or do anything that I would feel shame about. Like I would say what I created during the pandemic loud and proud, and I'm still doing it right now. So anyway, Corinthian was like, "Oh yeah, like we'll talk after church." So then he calls me after church. Right? He didn't really talk to me at church. He just was like, "Oh yeah, like I'll call you later." I was like, "Okay." You know, send me scriptures. So then he calls me, and he, of course, you already know. So I'm driving home, and as soon as I get home, Corinthian calls me, and I was like, Corinthian, I know you're a demon because I just pulled into my driveway and you called me immediately. It's demonic. It's demon. Listen, listen. I can write a book. You can call me Gazi the Demon Slayer. I already knew what time it was, so I'm listening to him on the phone, and I'm like, okay, okay. Cool, cool. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm like, okay, yeah. Well, for 2 seconds, I was going to explain why I did and how, right? I was going to explain that I know how to create something out of nothing, thin air during hard times using my creative mind to get a bag or to like get a little forward. I'm still working on bigger bags, but like you guys get it, right? Like God gave me a gift to do that. But because it's on this platform and because you have this perceived situation, which let's be freaking clear, your disdain for this website in such a way, I know you have several subscriptions. So subscriptions. Corinthian. I know you have several subscriptions to. He was like,
Yeah, so I've got a buddy that works in the media space.
and I was like, oh, you have a buddy that works in the media space? And he's like,
Yeah, and yeah, he said you've got a pretty good platform.
and I was like, cool, nice. I'm glad you have buddies that are telling you these things. And he was like,
Yeah, they also told me you have like an OnlyFans.
and I was like, huh? Well, yes, I'm very happy that your buddy is delivering accurate news to you. Did you tap into what it is? He's like,
No, no, no. I saw enough. I saw it and I saw enough.
and I was like, but did you pay for a subscription? That was you. I felt it in my spirit. That was you. He was like,
There's, you can turn your life around.
like he just completely started going in the direction like you're basically a demon in Gazi.
You're basically a demon.
Like, am I a demon, or do I constantly use the gifts that God gave me to create things and to just put more and more tokens into my legacy? Bing, 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 bing. Like, it's not my job to try to explain to people how I create things, right? No matter the realm, right? Me creating that, let's just be freaking clear. I'm pretty sure there's people that have like kinks for stuff like that. Can I say kinks? I'm pretty sure people have like kinks for like watching dolls and cartoon kinky stuff, right? But for the most part, the people that subscribed were probably people that I knew to also support and be like, and guys, what you doing now? And then also other people that are like, this is interesting. Let me just subscribe, right? I don't even still have it up. I might reopen it. But the fact that he was like that's demonic, I can pray for you, I can pray that out of you. I said, pray what? God's gifts? I'm not confused. That's the thing. Like, that's the freaking thing. Like, the one thing I don't like about some people is they will try to like control you or warp your mind with what the Bible says and stuff. And it's just like, listen, no, whatever Bible you're reading from, that is perfectly fine. That's fine. But I don't actually have to read anything to know when God is telling me what to do. He hasn't steered me wrong yet. The only time I've steered wrong is when I'm just like, ignore God and just do my own thing. But I haven't been steered wrong yet. God puts gifts inside of people. And just because some people are suppressing them, and you're used to women that will suppress every fiber in their body to be with you, and you've met one that will not, I will not sacrifice myself to just to be with you. That is not what God told me to do. Whatever God you hear and whatever God I hear, they're clearly not telling us to do the same thing. So I truly felt that he was very, very upset that the good girl, I'm a good girl, but like, I'm gonna create whatever that I want to. And he was not ready for that when he met me in the church. Baby, I'm just in this church to get my mind right because I don't know what just happened in this pandemic. I'm in Hollywood, my friends left. Like, so Corinthians. So then I did keep going back to the church a couple more times, but then like when I would see him, the energy was just off. And then I think the pandemic started like kind of going away. Actually, did it ever actually go away? What happened? Did it ever actually go away? Are we still in it and just pretending? You know what I mean? I don't know. But that man was so disappointed. And I was just like, okay, there are people actually on OnlyFans right now that are doing deplorable things, I'm sure, in many people's eyes. Not me. That's not me. But if you see me in the same light, that's fine. It's a very judgmental eye you have. And I would never want to be with you outside of seeing you in church. Hey, Corinthian. GoziTV.